Breaking news, and it's all kinds of bad for the New Orleans Pelicans, who are already having a brutal season. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. We have a goal here at the Basketball Bulletin. We want to hit 40,000 subscribers before we flip to 2026. We've got 1 month to do it. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and help us get there. So, the big news, Zion Williamson once again out for the Pels. And now this is not a day-to-day. This is not a game-to-game. This is not load management. This is a right adductor injury. He will be reevaluated, according to Shams Charania, in 3 weeks. I say it all the time. Reevaluate does not mean return. So Zion Williamson, I don't think we see him until 2026 at this point if he's not being reevaluated until 3 weeks from now. Here we are at the beginning of December. But Zion Williamson, I would say out for the rest of 2025, most likely. Williamson did return November 19th after missing just over 2 weeks with a hamstring injury, played in 5 of the Pels' past 7 games, and then sustained this adductor strain, which will sideline him for a much longer period. And this is the frustration. So what do the Pels do now? What do they do with Zion Williamson? Is it finally time to say that's it? We've had enough. We're out. We're done. We're tired of the Zion Williamson life experience. We don't want to do this anymore. Zion Williamson is phenomenal when he's on the court. He is one of the very best in the NBA when he's out there, averaging 22 points, 5.6 rebounds, 4 assists so far this season, playing 31 minutes a night when he's out there, 51% from the field so far, has not hit a three ball hasn't been a huge part of his game anyway, but regardless, Zion Williamson is a impact player when he's out on the floor. He moves in a way that players his size simply should not be able to move. And perhaps that's why we see him hurt so often. Played in 10 games, the Pelicans, they've played 21. So that means less than half of the Pelicans games, Zion Williamson has been available. And look here on the standings, look at the table. The Pelicans are so low on the standings that you can't even see them because I'm in the way right now. They are the very bottom of the Western Conference, 3-18 on the season, minus 10.9 in point differential. Yikes. Absolutely brutal season for the Pelicans. And if you remember, they made that fateful trade that everyone, myself included, absolutely hated on draft night, where they gave up their pick next year, this year now, to the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for moving up 10 spots in the draft in order to get Derek Queen. And guess what? If the draft were to stay chalk right now, the Pelicans would be surrendering. That's right, the number 1 pick in a loaded draft class to get Derek Queen. Nothing wrong with Derek Queen. He's a fine target. I think the Pelicans made a wise choice in targeting Derek Queen. What they gave up for him, oh no, this could be absolutely disastrous for the Pels. And to add insult to injury, guess what else they did last year? During the NBA Finals, they took the Pacers pick, which wound up being number 23 in last year's draft, and they gave the Pacers back their pick in this year's draft. That pick that they used to move up to 13 to get Derek Queen, that was the Pacers pick that they traded for during the NBA Finals. They gave up the Pacers 2026 pick. Tyrese Halliburton tears his Achilles, and now the Pacers 2026 pick is number 3 overall. In a loaded draft class, the New Orleans Pelicans right now should have 2 top 5 picks. That would completely change the entire tone of this franchise, the direction of the team. Everything around this season completely shifts if they're staring down 2 top 5 picks in a loaded draft. It could completely change their whole future. Brutal for the New Orleans Pelicans. So what do they do now with Zion? Do they say, let's put him on the market and let's trade him? I'm going to take a look at what that could ultimately look like for the Pels right after this. Be back in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, this is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin. And we do appreciate it when you guys help support the companies that support us and keep us growing. Sleeper does a fantastic job. We appreciate them as a presenting sponsor. Use that code Bulletin. I threw together a few quick picks. Sleeper's super easy to use. You jump on the app, and off you go. I'm going with Zach Edey. He's been crushing it for the Memphis Grizzlies, who have actually been playing much better basketball recently. Ja Morant, we'll see what happens with him. But Zach Edey has been phenomenal for them. So I'm going to keep riding with Ja Morant. And Jalen Brunson, I think he can put up more than 27.5 points. I'll go with him as well. Once again, big shout out to Sleeper. Okay, let's get into what can happen now. Can the Pelicans trade Zion Williamson? And for that, we're going to have to look at Zion's kind of unique contract. Remember, incredible player, but something of a unique contract due to his injury history. You look right there over here on Spot Track. They do a phenomenal job. $39.4 million, but $0 guaranteed this year. Becomes 50% guaranteed a little bit. We'll take a look at those dates in just a minute. $0 guaranteed next year, $0 guaranteed after that. So in theory, the Pelicans could kind of wash their hands of Zion Williamson and just say, look, we're moving on. The former #1 overall pick, not any guaranteed future money, but what are those guarantees here? So Zion in his contract, his 2024-2025 salary becomes 50% guaranteed. Or starts off as 50% guaranteed and then fully guaranteed last year. So this is last year's salary. This year's salary, non-guaranteed, and then fully guarantees July 15th. Obviously, we've already passed that date. So this year, going to be fully guaranteed. But next year, non-guaranteed. The year after that, non-guaranteed for Zion Williamson. 20% of his salary becomes guaranteed if he passes all 6 of his weigh-in checkpoints during the 24-25 season. And then 40% of the salary becomes guaranteed. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly where he was at on his checkpoints or what percentage of that is guaranteed. But the bottom line is that Zion Williamson has certain triggers that he has to hit in his contract in order to guarantee this money. It's his weight. He has to be less than 295 pounds. His body fat is going to get monitored as well. So there are some requirements in here. There are also games played requirements. His 25-26 salary becomes 40% guaranteed if he plays greater than 41 games during the 24-25 season. He gets an additional 20% if he plays 51 games and a remaining 20% if he plays 61 games during that season. Well, guess what? Last season, Zion played in a total of 30 games. So by that would tell you that Zion's salary this season is completely non-guaranteed. So if they wanted to, the Pelicans could just say, see you later, Zion. We don't want you on our books anymore. Goodbye. Now, he would be, should they do that, he would be a very highly sought-after free agent. There'd be no question about that. Because if you're not paying him $40 million, you are much more excited about Zion Williamson and having him on your team. If you have him for, hell, even a mid-level exception, teams would be thrilled to have Zion Williamson, even if he only played 30 games. Have him for the playoffs and know that whenever he's out there on the floor, he's a major difference maker. I mean, again, he is a breathtaking athlete. So that would change a lot if Zion were suddenly a free agent. But could they actually trade Zion Williamson? Could they trade him to another team, and that other team then take the risk here that they're going to move forward with Zion, know that they could move on with the non-guaranteed years that are on his deal. So there is some protection here. Should we just get to a point where we say Zion Williamson, this man simply cannot stay on the basketball court. Played in 10 games so far this year. That's less than half the Pels games. Played 30 games last year, 70 games the year before that. That was a career high, but 29 games the year before that. 61, had a gap. One season he didn't play at all, only played 24 games his rookie year. He has been injured more often than not over the course of his NBA career. So could a team actually trade for Zion Williamson right now and just say, you know what? It's not been fun for the Pelicans, but maybe it'll work out for us. But maybe, like, for example, if you called up the Sacramento Kings and said, hey, would you guys give up Zach LaVine to get Zion Williamson? If I'm Sacramento, okay, my season's going down the drain anyway. He's got non-guaranteed money on the books. Why not roll the dice on that? Now, if you're the Pels, should you do that? No, probably not. But are there opportunities to potentially trade Zion? Sure. There's some contracts out there. If you are the Grizzlies who are dealing with the John Morant situation, should you get into the Zion Williamson business and just say, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we move on? But if it does work, maybe Zion can be the grit and grind type physical bulldozer, the hyper rich man's version of Zach Randolph to a degree, all the way down to the lefty thing, if we can get Zion to stay on the floor. Maybe. I mean, the situation seems to be getting better in Memphis right now. But the bottom line, there's some contracts out there. Would the Hornets be interested in flipping LaMelo Ball for Zion? What about the Hawks and Trae Young? Could you look at something there? Right? There's enough teams that have distressed assets that are maybe looking to move on from certain players. If you're the Chicago Bulls, would you stack up some expirings in Nick Vucevic and Kevin Huerter and try to do something there? You know, there are enough teams out there that could make a move without necessarily touching their key players, their core players, that I wouldn't write it off. But I don't think there's a lot of teams right now that are looking at the Zion Williamson experience and thinking, we really want to sign up for this. And would the Pelicans still be expecting positive value in return for Zion? I think they need to. If they can get any kind of draft capital for this next year, that would obviously help. But to me, the Pelican season has gone just completely down the drain. There's no silver lining with their draft pick. And that's not to speak on the rookie. I think Jeremiah Fears has done some really good things for the Pels. Derek Queen has been very good. Both of these guys look like they're going to be players. Look like these guys are going to be pretty damn good. But it hasn't mattered in wins and losses. They don't have their pick as their silver lining right now. And Zion Williamson is a superstar when he's on the floor, but he's just never there. So what do you do if you're New Orleans? Honestly, I think it's time to clear the air. I think it's time to move on. And I said the same thing about John Morant. If you can find any kind of positive value for Zion Williamson, it's time. You got to do it. And maybe, we talked about this over the summer, the time to do it was in July. The time to do it was then, when you brought in Joe Dumars and you'd done what you'd done in the draft, and there were those conversations about, well, did Dumars get brought in order to trade Zion Williamson? Is that going to be his task? Is he going to need to move on from Zion? And Dumars said, no. I want to work with Zion. I'm going to get the best out of him. All these sorts of things that were put out there that he thought he was going to get through to Zion Williamson. And I'm not saying this is a lack of conditioning from Zion or whatever. This is Zion's fault. Some guys' bodies just don't want to play basketball. It's the way that it goes sometimes. But this was the danger. This right now, the season from hell for New Orleans, this was the danger. Everything that could go wrong on the macro level, the big topics for the Pelicans. If you were going to make the gamble that you made to get Derek Queen, again, a fine target, you needed to have a halfway decent season. So you don't feel the sting of surrendering a number 1 overall pick to the Atlanta Hawks, right? That was something you need to happen. Didn't happen. Has not happened. Could they get better? Maybe, but I don't really see it. So now the other piece to the big question for the season for the Pels, and again, Derek Queen playing fine, Jeremiah Fears playing fine. They've got some interesting young talent. Trey Murphy would be in high demand if they put him on the trade market, not that they should. Herb Jones as well. There's interesting pieces in New Orleans. But the other piece was, oh my God, if we keep Zion and he gets hurt again, what's his value going to be at that point? Then what? Last summer, you could say, you know what? He's getting skinnier. Look, you're gonna have thin Zion, and some team might be able to be talked into taking that gamble. Now, well, I think there could be some trade options for Zion Williamson. There could be some teams that could talk themselves into it. They're not going to give up anything that they're going to really miss in order to get him. That's the kind of gamble that teams are going to have to take if they're going to bring in Zion. It's going to be, well, okay, we'll take the risk, but all we're going to sacrifice is expiring contracts, maybe a little bit of future flexibility for a team that needs that final piece. The Chicago Bulls, again, being a team that can look at Zion, can look at Anthony Davis and say, well, you know what, this guy's not healthy much, but we can maybe get into the mix in the East. And so we're going to go ahead and take the gamble. We're going to roll that dice, but they're not going to be giving up significant pieces to get these guys. Certainly not what Zion was worth on draft night. That is long gone. That ship has sailed. But what they're going to give up is stuff that they're not going to miss all that much overall. Nick Vucevic, by the way, don't mean to disparage him. He's had a great season, but he's 35 years old. It's pretty clear he's not going to be part of the future for the Chicago Bulls. So that's the challenge now for the Pels. So if you're going to move on from Zion, and you may need to, just to fully reset the franchise, maybe reset the location. I hate to say, I don't want to see a fan base lose their team, but it's a Saints town in New Orleans. And maybe the NBA needs to seriously look at relocation. It doesn't seem to be getting better. And the conspiracy theories that this team was put together, that Joe Dumars did what he did in order to help the team move from New Orleans, like a major league style scenario. Great movie style scenario here. I don't know. It's the longer this Pels season goes on, the more it feels like there may be some validity to that. I feel for the Pelicans. It sucks when your team is so injured like this and you're having so many guys miss games. They play hard most nights. They've got some interesting young rookies. Jeremiah Fears went, head to head with Luka Doncic literally the other night. It was good seeing the young guys step up like that. They've got some interesting stuff here, but it's time. It's time. Get what you can for Zion. Move on. Move forward with the franchise. You're going to have to deal with the pain of giving a high draft pick to the Atlanta Hawks this year. That's going to hurt, but you got to just say it's a sunk cost. It is what it is. Build your team around Queen, Murphy, Fears, Herb Jones. Maybe look for some opportunistic trades. There may be some teams desperate for help on the wings. Maybe you can find something there and move forward. It's all the Pelicans can do. The Zion Williamson era has been a disaster, and now he's going to be out for another 3 weeks plus, gets reevaluated, and we're not going to see Zion, I think, until 2026 at the earliest. Now it's looking like a certainty almost that he will play once again in less than half of the Pelicans games this year. Everybody give me your thoughts in the comments down below. What can the Pels actually get for Zion Williamson? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.